Repliters, and welcome to another edition of Replit 101, your favorite show where we try and solve all your coding problems, or alternatively get distracted and talk about AI for an entire hour. That might be the case today because you may have seen a certain launch that we did today, which is a pretty cool thing. But we'll get on to that in a moment. Just to remind you, Replit 101 is an opportunity for us to try and solve each other's coding problems. I can't claim to be an expert on everything, but we can try. Hello, buddy. He's been very excited in the comments there. But we are going to take a look at every question that we can tonight. Don't forget that we prioritize questions in the live chat. So if you're here with us live and you've got a question that's been burning a hole in your... That's completely the wrong metaphor, isn't it? You've been desperate to get answered. Then please pop it in the chat and we'll prioritize your questions. Otherwise, we're working through a curated set of questions from the Ask Forum, which is ask.replit.com, which is the place to go if you have questions about Replit, support questions, feature requests, or just coding questions, as well as the Discord, which has a coding help section there, which is pretty cool. Let's get started though by looking at what's new in Replit since last time I talked to you, because we've had some pretty cool things. I'm going to leave the most exciting thing for last, but let's start with bounties, because bounties now has a reputation system. So let's have a look at bounties I've posted. I've got a couple here on the bottom that I used just to test it when I was doing the videos for that. But if I click on my finished bounty now, and I go to my discussion, you'll see I can submit a review for the person. I can say how well I was satisfied with them, did pretty well, quality of the work, timeliness, yeah, and we can put a testimonial there and save that. Now, when you are applying for bounties in future then, you will have a collated selection of reviews as well as average ratings in all these areas to go towards the bounty post and making a decision upon whether you should get it or not. So the idea behind this is it's not just people that have done a lot of bounties that will get future work. It's also depending on how well they've done them and the quality of their work. So a bit more of a rating system gives us the opportunity for everyone to have a chance to get in there and get bounties. But the really cool thing that's been pushed out just today is Ghostwriter Chat, and it is brilliant. From within any REPL, what you can do is summon Ghostwriter in a little chat window in your REPL. Now, Ghostwriter then has full understanding of the context of your REPL, the files in it, and how they relate and things like that. I'll bring it up on the side here, and you can ask simple questions like, how do I get started here? I build a Flask app, for instance, and it talks very much in a chatty way. Now, regular viewers to Replit 101 will know that we used this a little bit last time. I got permission to use it a little bit early and see how well it works. You can even just bring the code in quite easily here, which is pretty cool, and get it running. But the thing that's really nice, and I'm going to just break this code a little bit here, is not just the fact that you can ask it questions in that chat way, but now Ghostwriter's got a contextual aware debugger. And honestly, this is the most powerful thing I've ever seen, because you can click on Ghostwriter's little warning whenever it gets an error message, and we will get the fix. Now, it's not perfect. It won't always get it for you, but I've been running this for the best part of 2 weeks. I've built an entire video series in that time on Discord bots where I was getting some really weird error messages because, not being deep into Discord bots, I learned all this as I went. And actually, I can't imagine myself coding without this debugger anymore. It's so nice. And although this is a very simple one, at the very lowest level, it actually tells you which line the error's on, rather than you having to read the entire error message, the dump of that, which is particularly problematic if you're running a server and the error message is sort of 3-4 levels deep trying to find out where the problem is. It has solved problems in multiple Discord bots for me. It has solved problems in a PDF generator I've been building the last couple of days, and it solved multiple problems in my own coding experience. It is a dream come true for those of us that program and have to debug, which, let's be honest, is all of us. It is currently free if you are paying for Ghostwriter, and it's well worth playing with because it does make everything much nicer. And in fact, we'll try and use it today to answer a few of our questions. This is going to change everything. But having shown the cool feature, let's take some questions. Now, I wanted to start with a question that we had in the live, which was from Hydrogen Macro, I believe. Hydrogen's also asked a question about extensions. Next Thursday, we have a town hall, which is where we show off upcoming features and talk about things that have just been released. One of the upcoming features that we will be talking about there is extensions. And you might see a little window here, which I'll just minimize a little bit because clearly I've got it turned on and I shouldn't have for my live stream. This happens a lot. For regular viewers, you'll know that just tune in and you can see stuff like that. Sorry, Hydrogen, I'm not 100% sure what that question was about. Isn't it behind a paywall? Is that specifically about Ghostwriter chat, or is that about extensions? I'll come on to it. But yeah, so next Thursday is Town Hall, where we talk about upcoming things have been released, and you get a sneak peek at a few things. Extensions will definitely be part of that on Thursday next week. So tune into that. It's about 2 p.m. Pacific time, so it's about a half hour before this starts. Or you can watch it async afterwards if you'd like. Lots of returning faces and lots of new faces coming to speak to us about the things that they've built for Replit, which is pretty cool. Extension wise, Hydrogen, I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% on what the capabilities of the current version of extensions are. I think that's something that we have to ask on Thursday. So I'll pop that in my questions list. But to be perfectly honest with you, even if we did embed ChatGPT, one of the things it wouldn't have would be the context of everything in your REPL. And that's one of the reasons that Ghostwriter Chat is so good, is that it doesn't just understand the code it's looking at right now, but it knows the list of files and everything that's in there. In fact, what it did the other day for me, which was really, really cool, was I'd set up this entire thing to generate certificates. So 100 days of code certificate generation is a thing that we can do now. And I set it all up for 50 days, and I was extending it to do 100 days, and I click run, and the thing crashes with this long error message. Ghostwriter Chat debugger just says to me, "You didn't upload the 100-day certificate." And I go, "Yeah, of course I didn't." Because how many minutes of my time would I spend trying to work out that the error was just that I hadn't put the file in the right place? But because it understands the entire context, it was quite good with all that. Buddy is saying, because Buddy, you're part of the beta for that, are you? So you've seen this working, that we can embed things like ChatGPT, and they've embedded like dev docs and Google things like that. The dev docs will be really cool, actually. I think that's something that I would want an extension for, is just to have those popping up straight away in there. But yeah, I shouldn't really be talking about extensions, so shh, nobody tell anybody, all right? If anybody else that works with Replit asks you what to do about extensions, we'll just say that Buddy was talking about them. We'll leave it at that. I'll say hello to Mr. Criddle. It's lovely to see you. Lovely to have you live here. Please do ask questions if you want, or get involved in the chat. That's the nice thing. And Buddy's saying, yeah, we were ChatGPT extensions and no file tree and file, which is pretty cool, isn't it? And Luke, yeah, it is, isn't it? Like, we're spending this year, I'm sure you've seen maybe some of the tweets from our co-founder, Amjad, about how we're trying to sort of scale up for, professional developers this year and make it something that's good for enterprise as well. So, we want to be the full-on development and hosting platform, and a lot of these features are just making it so nice. Like, I can't imagine myself ever coding anywhere else without Ghostwriter Chat. It's so nice, so nice. So I wanted to pull up a question from a while ago from Hydrogen, which was nice and straightforward, I thought, but I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to use Ghostwriter Chat just to ask this. Let's just ask it here. How do I find and replace in files using I'm just going to say the terminal rather than Linux filing system? Oh, there we go. We can use the sed command apparently for find and replace. Cool. I thought we'd get an answer about grep or something, but there we go. So I could say, give me an example of how I could use that to change every instance of hello for goodbye in every file, in every folder. Well, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the benefits of Ghostwriter Chat is just how nice it is and how it's embedded in everything. I honestly, that's one of those questions that I couldn't answer off the top of my head. That would be a Google away. And that's, of course, that's the power of AI, isn't it? It's just the fact that you can just ask it a normal question and give you a normal answer. And it's giving me answers here about, you know, the terminal when I'm in the middle of a Python REPL, which is pretty cool. We had some other questions as well. We had one from Riddle, which I'm not 100% I understand. So Riddle, if you're in the chat, can you give a bit more detail to this one, please? How can I add an asterisk Q in Python? So I'm not sure what that question means. I did ask if you meant pointers, which might be giving away my age a little bit because that's something from the C collection of languages, pointers to actually memory locations rather than actually the memory, which was a very different way of programming. And for those of you that remember the bad days of pointers in C, I salute you because I was there as well. But if you could give me some more detail on that, please, that would be fantastic. I'm going to bring up Luke again here because this is great, and this is my own experience as well. The new themes thing literally made me delete VS Code to use Replit full time. I was in a position, Luke, where I as a teacher, right, I didn't have installed any modern local IDEs. In fact, my version of VS Code may have been one of the first versions that was released for the Mac until recently, until I had to update it to do some local dev work. But yeah, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Anything I want to spin up, I spin up on Replit first. It's nice and flexible. But you know, we've nattered on enough about AI a little bit. We'll talk more if you want to tonight. But let's have a look at some of the questions from Ask and see if we can answer them. There were no more questions in the live chat because we've got quite an excitable live chat today, and I was struggling a bit to keep up with it. Let's have a look. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Yeah, cool. Right, so let's have a look at some questions. And the first one I wanted to pick up on was actually somebody that tweeted at me. So John Pill tweeted at me from our announcement earlier on today of the fact that we were going live with Replit 101, just saying, is it possible to set up our own website on Replit using Python and Flask? And are you aware of a great tutorial? Well, am I aware of a great tutorial? 100 days of code, I think from about day 78, we switch over to dealing with Flask websites. So if you want to skip ahead a little bit, I'll be separating those tutorials out at some point. There's a big interest in people just doing the web dev part of that. So I'm going to pull those out and publish them separately when I've got some time. But if you want to skip yourself ahead to that, it would be brilliant. But I want to give a quick intro to Flask because it's a really nice way of taking a programming language that most people will have learned at some point, which is Python, or a reasonably straightforward language to learn, and adding the ability to host websites on it, which is a really important thing. We do have a Flask template actually, so you could bring that straight in there. But I'm going to just use the Python one to show you how easy it is to pull those things in. And of course, I could use generate code or something like that if I wanted to, but I'm going to just use Ghostwriter Chat today. And you'll see that Ghostwriter Chat is consistent between REPLs as well. So if you ask it a question in one, you can bring it up in another, which is pretty cool. I ask it to give me some boilerplate code for a Flask server. Serving on 0000. Now that's the important thing to do is to make sure that we're asking it to serve at a certain address, because the way the REPL opens up the web view is that we need to actually serve it on that place. So if I paste that in and I run it, we should hopefully Get a web view popping up. There we go. With Hello World. And we've built a Flask REPL almost instantly. There's a bunch of stuff on there that I could explain to you, but actually, Ghostwriter Chat's done a reasonable job of annotating the code. And I know there are only one-word comments, but it's not done too bad at all. We've imported the Flask library. We've instantiated Flask, so we set it up. And then the roots. The roots is the interesting bit. The roots is saying, well, what are the pages? What are the entry ways with the URLs? And where do we redirect them? And for those, we use app, which is the instantiated variable name for Flask, .root, and we, in brackets, give it a string. So that's your web server / just a blank / page will load, in this case, hello world. The bottom bit is the bit that just runs the server. Remember, the server's always running in the background. And what we could do is we can go in and change that if we want to. So it doesn't necessarily need to be hello world. It can be, and we refresh. Now, it didn't change, and that's because it's a web server and it's hard coded. So in order to get that to refresh, we would have to stop the REPL and run it again. And you'll see it running down here, and we're getting the new information up. Now, in terms of Flask, you can build out from there, and it's very, very easy to get things done. One of the nice things, and again, I know I keep banging about Ghostwriter Chat, but it's on new release today. I found it very, very helpful when I'm doing something like dev work here. I'm just going to bring up Ghostwriter Chat on its own over on the side a little bit. So, oh dear, my split was a bit poor then, wasn't it? Let's go over there. There we go. Because one of the things I found useful about Ghostwriter Chat, which I didn't find useful about ChatGPT, is just the fact that because I'm coding here, if I have a momentary question in my head, I'll ask it. Whereas the context switch of needing to go and switch into ChatGPT and ask a question oftentimes meant I just wouldn't ask it those random questions. So like you might think, well, okay, how do I host static content? That's a Google away, isn't it? Oh, disconnected myself. Is my stream still working? There we go. And here we go. We get an answer straight away. We're getting some code. And we can see how to host static sites. One of the beauties of AI is it's like having a teacher there with you all the time. So if you've got just a random question, you can ask it. I was interested in doing caching. I just suddenly thought that would be a good thing to cache, wouldn't it? I've never done caching on Flask before. The only reason I learned Flask in the first place was because I was teaching Python to my students. And then by the time they got to the point where we wanted to do web development projects, I teach them PHP. And actually they'd slow down by changing languages. So I thought, well, I'll teach myself Flask and I'll get the students to do Flask as well. It certainly helped them. But the more I build now, the more things I build in Flask, the more I go, oh, what about that? I can just ask questions and get the data there. Mr. Crinnell asked, does it work with Pygame as well? Or do you have to use the Pygame template? I think you can just get Pygame in here. If I delete this here and I ask for some boilerplate code for Pygame, see what we get. There may be some specific things in the Pygame template that have been added to make things a little bit easier for you. Like there might be certain dependencies or stuff automatically brought in. But simple level, all it is a Python REPL that's using VNC. And if this is all set up correctly, if our boilerplate code is decent, we should hopefully get a VNC window popping up in a moment. Oh, okay. So I haven't output it properly. Let's have a look at a Pygame template and see what it did differently to what we had. Because again, what we can do is bring up Ghostwriter Chat here and see what it was moaning about there or what it was telling us. Okay. So it looks to me like it's something to do with the display setup here, which we didn't have in this one. If we run that one, we should get, there we go, our output coming up. So yeah, I would definitely use the Pygame setup, and we can have a quick look to see if there's anything interesting in it actually, because if you show hidden files, we can take a look at the two files that control the REPL. There's .replit, which controls a lot of the stuff about it. There seems to be a lot of standard Python stuff in here. And we may see some stuff that's specifically about Pygame in a moment if we keep looking. It doesn't look like there's anything majorly in there. Let's have a look at replit.nix. The Nix packages are the ones that we might get. Okay, so I've not seen this one before, prybar. That's definitely not in our normal Python package. And there's glib. Glib is brought in, but we've got a bunch of extra commands here. And my only thought is that a lot of this setup in the replit.nix file and the .replit file must be to just make sure that Pygame is outputting to the right place straight away without messing around with it. So that's definitely it for me. Luke says Ghostwriter is embedded into Replit, which makes it all the more easier to use. Yeah, of course. And don't forget, Ghostwriter in its native form would write code for you as well. So if you wanted to add something into this, I've not done Pygame in a long time. So let's see if we can see what it suggests here. Oh, it's going to suggest the same thing. Let's have a look. Let's do Pygame dot. Okay, there we go. That's just normal Ghostwriter suggesting code for me. I leave it on all the time. It is an improvement in speed. REPL root. I'm not sure what REPL root is. Look, is that a REPL? Is that I vaguely recall the name, but if you can point me to the right place, I'm not sure you can post links. But if you can tell me where to go to find it, I can go and have a little look and see what it is. But I don't have an opinion on it because I don't really know what it is. So tell me about it and I'll give you my information. So Mr. Criminal, I hope that was okay. You can pull up, you can get your Pygame working. In fact, you know what we'll do? We'll take that code and we'll put that into a normal Python REPL and see if that just works. Because that would be great if it did, didn't it? But Pygame's often got a few eccentricities that you want to add to it. I know that one of my students years ago wanted to build a game in Pygame. And I talked him out of it to use Unity eventually because he had very large ambitions for what he wanted to do. And Unity was a much nicer way of going with it. Let's have a look. Yeah, so you see we're getting the same error there if we just copy the code into it, Mr. Crinnell. So it looks to me like the extra stuff that's in the replit.nix file and the .replit file on the template are what makes Pygame pipe its output to the correct place, which is great though, isn't it? And it's an update version. It's 3.1.0 in this normal REPL. Let's have a look at what the packages are. You can see that, yeah, it's 3.10. Oh, prybar is part of it. Yeah, this is slightly different, isn't it? This replit.nix file is slightly different to the one that's in our Pygame template. And yeah, there's a few differences here. So the differences to those must be to make sure that we get all that data out. Say hello to Nicholas. I'm glad you're enjoying 100 Days of Code. How far have you got, Nicholas? Let us know. And I hope that my silly jokes didn't put you off learning to program for life. And say hello to Streamer Killer here. Thank you for 100 Days of Code. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. The point of 100 Days of Code was to try and make it easy and bite-sized to learn and fun as well, because everyone wants to learn to code, but a lot of the learn to code programs are not fun. And if you can put up my dad jokes and my sense of humor and the constant references to me being bald, you may get on with 100 Days of Code. Let's have a look. Luke says, oh, so the REPL root is a REPL that's got Debian OS. Oh, that's pretty cool. Is Debian a Nix package then? Can you just bring that in? That would be quite cool. Let's have a look at it. Should we see if we can find it? Streamkiller, there's dozens of us. Don't worry. There's dozens of us in the bald team. Let's go to community and let's have a look at this one. What was it? REPL root, wasn't it? Is the reason I know that. Did that one? Not sure I'm getting the right things here. Let's try 2 words and see what we get. Maybe not. We'll have a look again. Luke, if you want to email me the link, I'll take a look at it. Let me put my email address up on the screen for you. There we go. If you want to email it to me, I'll grab it and we'll take a look in the live stream. If you don't quite get it there, don't worry. We'll have a look next time. So there's my email address if you want to drop me an email on there. Cool. Right, let me turn that off. That was really stuck in it. Let's have a look at another question then, because we've only got through one question tonight. And there's a bunch of them I want to have a quick look at. The second is this one. And this one's a really interesting one because there doesn't seem to be, at a glance, anything wrong with that one at all. And I'll bring the code in. The user's basically saying, this isn't working. So what I thought we could do is let's get it into a Python REPL. Let's run it and let's see if we can spot the error. I mean, I'm sure I can find it there. Right, so let's run it and see what's going on. First of all, we've got an obvious error here, a syntax error. Now, for me, I've taught this a million times. I can see exactly what's going on there. Buddy, I'll have a look in a second. So if we bring up the error, we'll see that actually Ghostwriter's having a decent stab at it and saying that, oh, it should actually look like that. Which if you look then at line 3, what have we got? We've got a space. So if we get rid of that space, the syntax highlighting works. And if we run it now, boom. So the problem with it, and do you know what? I think Ghostwriter Debugger is probably going to solve loads of the problems on the Ask forum straight away. But for such a simple error there, it caused a lot of problems. And that's something that Ghostwriter Chat just went, yeah, you missed a space out there, which is quite cool. Right, buddy, let's have a look, see if we can find that REPL then. So let's go to the homepage. Let's have a look. What was it? REPL root. And let's have a look. See, I haven't much luck searching for that here. Was it REPL root or Replit root? Let me have a look. What are we talking about here? I've got to stop making these random noises when I'm searching. It's probably not great live streaming, is it? Let's have a look. What was it? Was it Replit root or REPL root? I can't. I'm sure somebody can help me out. I can't find the post now. Oh, Luke sent me an email, so we might be able to find it now. Oh, Luke, you're an absolute star, my friend. Let's bring that up and have a look at it. Okay, so this is the REPL we're talking about. Oh, okay, right, okay. Fair enough. 4 kids, don't tell me off. Let's have a look what it is. I have seen this before. This glitching logo is great. So remove the hash from line 2 for the web server to open, and remove line 3, or will cause 2 web servers to open. All right, okay. REPL root main.sh. So there we go. Do that. And that's, just double check that's what it said. Remove it and remove line 3. Okay. Right, okay. We have to fix apt install studio. Let's just click run and see what happens. Oh, cool. That's pretty cool. Oh wow, this is really exciting because this is installing Debian directly into the REPL. That is pretty cool. Okay. So again, I've been lazy and not read the README properly, but it seems to have installed a massive things on there. Oh, have I lost the README? Oh no. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, you need to make sure you read the README first and don't just click the run button and see what happens. But it is Debian now, is it? Is this running in Debian? So let's have a look. Let's do. Oh, it looks like it is. So there's bound to be. Let's get Ghostwriter up and just ask it to tell us the version of the operating system. We don't need that there. Let's pop it there. There we go. There we go. I feel like I've been. Well, that's the Ubuntu one, so that's the standard one. Okay. Maybe I need to get it running. Well, do you know what? this live stream isn't really the place for me to explore this and work out how to get it working myself, but it's quite cool. A full version of Debian running in a REPL is pretty exciting. And I presume, Luke, that the reason this is exciting is because it gives you sudo access, which is one thing that we don't tend to have in a REPL because of the way it's architected. And if that's the case, that would mean you could install and run an increased amount of software on it, which is pretty cool, I think. Oh, look what happened now. The moment I clicked off the search page, I've actually got all the results in there. Well, that's quite cool. I will bring that up and we'll have a look at that. Where are my questions? There we go. And see how it works. So we answered this one, didn't we? With Ghostwriter Chat. And that's really, really cool. Let's go to the next one. Now, this is one that I answered myself, but I think this is a really cool and interesting thing. So this user tried to convert just a normal number into a binary byte, basically. So if you don't know, the way that computers store numbers behind this is in binary. So I'll just switch over to another place here just to give you an example. So a computer, if it was storing like the number 12, for instance, why is that doing weird things with my... There we go, that's better. If it was storing the number 12 and it would store it in a byte. Now a byte is 8 bits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. And the way it would store 12 is it would store it in binary. Now binary is a base 2 number system. So what that means is each of these places is worth a power of 2. So 12 would be 8 and 4 with the rest of them turned off. So in order to store a normal number, a denary number is what we call it because it's a base 10 number system, a denary number as a binary number, as a byte, this is how you do the conversion. Now, there's a problem here because we don't store signs. So like if you want to store -12, well, how do you do it? And there are a bunch of different ways you can do it. Now, in code, the way you do it is exactly as we've said here. So let's get that into a REPL. And I think brilliantly, I've managed to close my Replit window down looking at that last one. So let me get another one up. There we go. And let's make a Python REPL. And let's bring that code in. Now, you might be wondering, why do I want to store this number as a byte? I don't know why this user wants to store the number as the byte, but they are. So let's print that out. The res would be -12 stored as a byte. If I run it, that's the output. Does anyone know in the chat what that means? /x f4. What does that mean? How's it stored it? I'll give you a few seconds. We're at 10-20 seconds behind. What does that mean? And I mean, hopefully you've seen it before. It's quite a standard way of sort of storing things. What does that /x f4 means? Oh, no answers from the chat. That's amazing. I'm floored, guys. I thought you'd be straight in there. Well, the answer is what this actually is a hexadecimal number. So the /x is just the computer's way of saying this is hex, and then F4, I keep pressing random things. F4 means that the first part of the byte is F, which is what, 15? Why do I keep, I think I'm double tapping my pen, which is that. And the second half of the byte is 4, which would be that. So that is what F4 is. But as you can see by that, that's not -12. Well, it is actually. What this is actually is something called 2's complementation. And 2's complementation is a way of storing binary numbers with a sign. And it's very, very straightforward. All you do is you say, instead of the most significant being the positive version of itself, we make it the negative version of itself. So actually, if you went through and added up all those place values, you'd end up minus 12. The problem is, if you just get the raw number for positive 12, for negative 12, that doesn't look any different from a signed or an unsigned number. So the user's question really was, well, look, how do I go and get, where's the question? There we go. How do I get that back in the correct way? And my answer was, you don't really. You've stored it as a signed byte. That is what it looks like as a signed byte. It just happens to be in 2's complementation. I've got a video on that, which is, I think, one of my best videos on different binary numbers and signs. And there's a lot of jokes about flipping this and flipping that. But, you know, the user hasn't responded to me. I hope that I solved their problem with that. You can always put it back by asking it, by saying, this is a signed value. What is it back in Denary? And then I'll convert it back to you and give you the signed output. But as far as we consider as a byte, that is stored correctly. So it can't really tell you what the sign is from there. Chorus has a question. Any idea why a Discord bot deployed on Replit sometimes just dies or doesn't reconnect? Okay, so this is interesting. This is worth us talking about because we did have something cool happen this week. And that is, if I can find the ask post, I'll bring it up for you. Where's my window? There we go. I'm just going to put my toolbar on and see if I can find it. Because what happened this week is we implemented and are testing a new way of running Discord bots, which should mean that rate limiting doesn't happen. And if it does, it means that it's because your Discord bot has broken Discord's terms of service and been marked as spam or marked as something bad there. I'm sure we have an announcements page somewhere, which is what I'm looking for, sorry. Which I can't seem to see. Right, I'll leave that for a second because I'll get the post to you all. So yeah, Ethan very nicely says the rate limiting problem has been solved. And that's what it does sound like, Cora. It sounds like the rate limiting problem. But what you need to do is you need to actually dump the error and see what it is. If your REPL is using the new Discord integration, then you should get an error code. And if it begins with a 4, I believe, that means that your bot basically has been blocked for doing something strange. Oh, it's in bug reports, is it, Ethan? Thank you. Let me pull that back up then and see if we can find it, because there was much more detail in that than I'm giving it credit for. And who posted it? Ryan, is it there? There we go. So here we go. This is the answer. Yep. So this, honestly, in terms of like the reason I'm writing at the moment Discord bot tutorials is because we think that this experiment has cracked it, and we think that it should stop the rate limiting problems for most of it. And the reason for that is because REPLs share IP addresses, because you have multiple REPLs running on one machine. Then if one REPL, one Discord bot on that machine happens to be bad and gets blocked by Discord, the entire machine gets blocked by Discord. So that rate limiting issue was mainly the fact that somebody had been running a dodgy bot on your server, on the server that was hosting your REPL previously. And that's quite difficult to fix. There's a massive load of good information there on that post. But the key thing is this. If you're getting a response code that starts with a 4 from Discord, this is basically saying that your REPL bot has been banned. Chorus is saying it's a 500 type of error. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's part of this. What I would suggest you do, hold on, here we go. You can opt into the proxy by using a different URL to connect. So there's an option here to do that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to paste that in the chat for you to have a look at, Chorus. There we go. So that link I've popped there. Please do take a look at that, because the support team are on hand to look at that. And of course, the people on the development team that have hopefully cracked this rate limiting problem for us would be interested to know if you've got any, outlying problems with it. Key things for me, though, with any Discord bot is you need to build it to be robust. So you need to build it to reset itself. You need to build it to reconnect quickly and to dump those error logs somewhere useful. I'll very quickly show you an example of one that I built previous to when we set up the changes to how we're doing Discord bots. If I go to this one here, the my bot initialization code, I think it's quite cool here. It doesn't print the error stack here because I wasn't too worried about the Discord bot being part of it. But I've got multiple levels. First of all, one of the key things that happens with most people's code is they will fork a REPL. A fork doesn't copy over the secrets. So in this case, my Discord token wouldn't be there. If you're running a fork, I want that to be an error straight away. I've also then got a couple of things. I've got a counter going on and then a while true loop that tries to run the bot. If it doesn't, it reboots. And I've got to check to make sure that we're not stuck in a reboot loop. And I can automatically send kill one to my REPL from within that. And that's quite a cool thing to do, actually. os.system just sends it to the terminal. Now, if you've got an always on bot, then once it's been killed, it'll get restarted. And this often fixes the previous rate limiting issue, especially if you had like a kill one manually doing it. You do need to have always on for this to work, though, because always on restarts any REPL that gets killed. So when you kill it, it'll restart it from scratch. So that is my pinned REPL on my profile, which is David at Replit. If you want to go and grab it and have a look, see if that code might help you. By the way, the reason I've got sort of 10 counts there is occasionally in the old system, the bot would just be stuck rebooting, trying to reconnect. And this is the way to get it to jump to a different server then, really, and hopefully have a bit more success. There's an example, but honestly, if you're still having trouble with Discord bots, rate limiting, and your error code doesn't begin with a 4, get in the Ask Forum, reply to that post, give links to your REPLs. The team would love to see any errors that we're still seeing. Okay, let's have a look. Nicholas has asked, can we explain the Replit database in a bit more detail? Certainly. Let's build again, so I'm making a Python one because I just know it in Python really, really easily. So we've got two kinds of database that you can access from within a REPL. The Postgres SQL one is a paid database. It's a fully featured Postgres SQL database provided by Neon. That is brilliant if you're doing big projects, you're doing projects that require multiple tables, that sort of thing. But if your needs are low, the normal REPL database is quite good. And it's a database that is unique to this REPL. Now, there's a problem with this. I say a problem, it's just the way it's built. If you're building a server, then your users that are accessing the server can share the same REPL DB, which is great. If you're building just a standard program that someone's going to click run on, every user that clicks run gets their own version of the database. So that's really good in one regard, but if you're trying to share data, not so great. So how does it work? Well, we need to import the library to do it, first of all, and then it's just very simple. It's a key value pair. All you do is you do DB in your square brackets, you put the key name. So like, let's put David at Replit there. So that's going to be the row name, basically, of where I'm going to store it. And I can then save information in it. I could save just a piece of text, like Ghostwriter suggested for me here. But the clever way of doing it is to save within that a dictionary. So I could put a field called name. The field called boldness. Set that to 100. Yeah. It's got my hobbies wrong, but it's some good options in there. I'm gonna say no to that. When I run that, watch the key number here. So if I run it, it's going to execute that code. And in databases, then in a second or two, this key should increment. There we go. I've stored one value in it. If I delete that code, I can get all of them for key in db.keys. Print db key. This will just go through and print everything out in my database for us. If I run that, there we go. You'll see that I've got a dictionary for me, which is quite cool. We might want to print out the key name as well, actually. There we go. Run that again, and we'll see what the name is. There we go. Key, David at Replit. The value is this. We can then go and extract things further from that if we'd like to. For instance, we could take the boldness level. If I run that now, we should hopefully. There we go. Just access that one part of the database. It is really quite powerful, but it is a simplistic implementation. There are limits on it in terms of how many keys, how much data can be stored in there, that sort of thing. If all you need is a very simple key value store for your REPL, it's brilliant. If your needs are a bit more advanced than that, you need relational databases, maybe using SQL, then you'll need your PostgreSQL. But that's really easy to turn on, and it's reasonably affordable for having a fully managed serverless Postgres database inside your REPL. The chat has gone crazy since last time I looked, so give me a second to catch up, everyone. Chorus is getting errors, and this is in your Discord bot, I believe, isn't it? Coordinate universal time fail reason Discord API error. That's interesting. I'd love to actually see, Chorus, what Ghostwriter chat debugger makes of running your REPL. It's definitely worth, if you've got Ghostwriter, running it and seeing what it makes of it. That was just launched today, of course. So Chris says, I would believe I know what I'm doing since I've had the same bot on Heroku earlier and that never disconnected. And no, the bot isn't doing anything dodgy. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. If you'd like to multiplayer your REPL with me, Chorus, I can run it with Ghostwriter chat debugger, and maybe it can give us a helping hand. It's been pretty good for me. Again, you're going to need to share it with me, David at Replit there. Let's have a look. I haven't got that as a banner. So if you want to try multiplayer and do it to David at Replit, he puts an at the start of my username there. That would be great. And if you multiply it with me, I can get it running. All your secrets will be in there, and we can just run it and see what Ghostwriter chat makes of it. Let's have a look. Ethan says it was also mentioned the official topic on Ask. Yeah, I believe so. I was struggling to find it, Ethan, unfortunately. I knew I'd read it a while ago. Oh, so there was some Node.js code shit. Well, that's worthwhile. Cool. Well, I'm going to attempt to pronounce this username. Gibberiffs. I love pronouncing usernames because you never know what you're going to get. I said, just finished day 15 of Python program. It's going great. Emojis act a little strange on the coding that they do. And I think, actually, you know, in retrospect, because I was coding on a Mac and I just press one key to get the emoji picker up, I do take it for granted that it's easy to get those in. If you're not coding on a Mac, go to Emojipedia. There's a big copy button underneath the emoji that you want, and it's much easier to get them in there. Interestingly, actually, emoji will change depending on which platform you're on, because the images are part of a font that each platform has. So, like, there's weird stuff like, you know, there's a water pistol emoji on some platforms that looks like a gun on others. So, and there's a lot of strange little bizarre things like that going on. Luke, obviously a fan of the baldness. Yes, completely. Sorry, Gloria says it's not over 9,000. We can make it over 9,000 if you want. Great from Fuchsia. Yes, we are back online. Adams asked, since finishing 100 days of code and missing the daily coding exercise, good resources? I'm sorry, Adam. I always give the same answer for this one. Unfortunately, it's the difficulty is just trying to find projects. There are some things like Elite Code and some other. And guys, if you're in the comments and you think of any of these like daily challenge sites, please pop them in the comments, because they're escaping me at the moment. But there's a couple of good ones. But the only issue I have with them is they are oftentimes just clearly just constructed for something to do. If you want a daily coding challenge, get yourself to bounties. The bounties program is not all high value bounties. Like, this one is worth $3,000. It might not be a 20-minute coding challenge, but if we sort them by reward and we have open bounties and we scroll down a little bit to something a bit more, smaller in value, you'll find ones that are quite 20-minute jobs, especially if you've got Ghostwriter going in. And Adam, I'd honestly say the most useful thing you can have as a coding activity is a real problem to solve. Look at this one, $45 here, right? Calculate total distance given a latitude and longitude. That seems to me like something that any of you guys that have completed 100 days of code could do, probably in about the 20 minutes to an hour mark. And this dude is paying out $45 for it. So that seems to me to be quite a good challenge. And even if you apply and you don't get the bounty, there's loads of examples of things and good challenges in bounties that you can do just for your own interest, really. Our bounties program is great, and you can earn cycles, of course. Earning enough cycles to get Ghostwriter running. 4,500 cycles is enough for Ghostwriter for the next 4 months. So why not give it a go, Adam? Please, there's nothing better for learning than finding projects that are real, because you'll encounter edge cases, you'll encounter weird things, you'll encounter very specific use cases, and they will make you a better programmer than just doing random coding exercises can ever do you. Okay, of course, if you would like to share it with me, I'm happy to do it offline. If you just want to have a look and see what Ghostwriter Chat's doing, that's absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. There is a Windows shortcut for emojis, actually. Windows and the full stop key. It's a weird shortcut key. So that is Windows, isn't it? So they've used every possible shortcut command in the world. One of the things that I'd recommend you all do, if you haven't done this already, is remap your caps lock key to be a hyper modifier key. Now, when I press my caps lock, it presses Command, Option, Control, and Shift. And I can then map that to any shortcut I want. So my caps lock key doesn't do caps lock, but it's much more useful to me because I've got some simple shortcuts that do really complicated things. Definitely worth doing, taking that caps lock key and changing it to something different. Again, I'll try the username. GB Riffs says, I just want you to get the output. Sometimes the emoji will be inside the text in a weird way. I did get the pronunciation correct. Good. Yeah. That's mainly the weirdness of having emoji printing in the terminal. Don't forget, the terminal is pretty much an invention of the 1970s. We're looking at there. A lot of the structures and the amount of characters wide it is and the way it even generates and shows text is based on the output of pre-graphic computers. So just command line stuff. So there's a lot of craft in that. And when you wedge emoji in, sometimes it doesn't behave quite well. So don't worry, it's not just you there. Could we ask Ghostwriter for an emoji? Let's have a look. I wonder if we can. Let's jump into Python and ask it if it can give me an emoji to copy. Can you give me the fire emoji? Let's have a look. Hey, there we go. Yeah, if you pay for Ghostwriter and use Ghostwriter Chat, you can just ask it for emojis if you want. Patron, I'm glad it's your first day. I'm glad you're here. We are getting very close to the end now. Let me get to the end of this conversation. Yeah, Windows and the full stop with the period key. Yeah, British, obviously, so I say full stop rather than period. Oh, Mr. Cronall searches projects on YouTube. Now that's really interesting, Mr. Cronall. If you've got any sort of Searches that you use or any channels that do good projects, that's worth looking at. Oftentimes with a YouTube search, you also get them solving the project as well, which is quite nice. Yeah, Adam, do check it. Apply for the easy ones. There's a lot of bounties out there that are, a couple of hundred, couple of thousand cycles that are well within your skill set from doing 100 days. It's much more fun doing something like that than just having, example projects that people have made up. Okay. Well, we haven't done that many questions, but, isn't that always the way for us on Replit 101? Let me get this banner out the way. I hope you guys have enjoyed another Replit 101 live stream. We'll be live again in 2 weeks' time, but I do want to shout out some of our other live events that are coming up. It's mainly the Me Show for the next couple of weeks, by the look of it so far. We should have more events popping up from our new batch of reps very soon, which will be very exciting. But next Thursday the 23rd, about the same time as this stream, we're doing a Replit's Town Hall. That's a great opportunity to see other people that work at Replit present things they're working on or things that are launching or giving sneak peeks of stuff. I'll be there, of course, emceeing and running the entire show and doing a few demos of Ghostwriter Chat and things like that. We're also starting a brand new live stream the week after. So next time you see me for Replit 101, the next day, we're starting a live stream called Upskill Your Code. Can an old coder learn new tricks? Where a bunch of people, starting with Ironclad Dev, are going to attempt to teach me new programming paradigms and new techniques. Ironclad's going to teach me a bit of React and TypeScript, which would be quite fun, which is going to be Thursday the 2nd at exactly the same time as this live stream. Would love it if you guys could tune in for that and give me a bit of encouragement in the chat, because I'm gonna need it for teaching those new things. So thank you very much for tuning in. It's always lovely to have you guys in the live chat, and it's always lovely to have so many viewers asynchronously as well for this. It does feel like a really worthwhile and a wholesome stream that we do every 2 weeks. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. I'll see a bunch of you, hopefully, for the town hall next week. And hopefully a few of you can rock up to our brand new live stream. Can we teach an old coder new tricks? We'll see. Hopefully. Guys, as ever, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I shall see you in 2 weeks' time.